Hi, I'm Sophie, and welcome to my world. You know, Thanksgiving is drawing closer, and one of the things that I love is making little crafts for my Thanksgiving Day table. So I've created this little tiny cork turkey, and I think he'd be really cute as a place setter. And I'm going to show you how to make him right now. Now, for this project, I live in California, so wine corks are very easy to get hold of, but if you can't find a wine cork, you can always use a spool, like a sewing spool. You can find these in craft stores. So if you can't find a cork, you can always use a spool. I've got some tiny little googly eyes here. This is a 15mm bead, and it's got a pretty large opening. And that's going to be very, very important, that you have a bead that has a very large opening. I've got three little pipe cleaner pieces here. I've got yellow, red, and orange. These are going to be for the beak and for the gobbler and the little wobbler on the top too. Then I've got a nice leaf. Now, what I've learned about leaves is that you want to kind of get them before they get too dry. You want them to have a little teeny bit of life still in them, otherwise they crumble. And the other thing that you can do is you can do more than one leaf if you want to. I'm just going to be using one leaf, but you can use multiple leaves if you want to make a bigger, broader tail. And I've got my scissors and my hot glue gun. Now, we are going to be working with some very tiny things, so be very careful with the hot glue. You can use regular glue, that's completely fine. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just take this little end here and snip it off. And I'm going to glue my cork onto my leaf. So I'm just going to do a little line of glue right along the back. Right there. And place that right along that leaf. Now, this is going to be my head. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the head this way so that the hole of the bead is facing forward. Now I can give it a kind of a little bit of a tilt down. That's because, remember, this is going to be his beak is coming out of here and his gobbler is coming out of here. So you might want to give it a little slight downward bend like that. There we go, right at the front. This is why I like to use hot glue, because it dries so quickly. However, if you wanted to use like a tacky glue or something like that, you certainly could. What I would suggest is just place something underneath here while it's drying, just to make sure it stays in its place. Okay, now my little head needs a beak. And what I'm going to do is just take my pipe cleaner and I'm going to bend it into a triangular shape and figure out if I think that's big enough beak or too big. I think that's about the right size. Use my scissors. I'm just going to cut that off and fold this together and just stick that right in that hole. Now you can see this is why I want to make sure that I have a pretty big hole here. For his gobbler, I'm going to actually bend this down a little bit to make the part that sticks in, and then I'm going to make his gobbler so I can make it as big and robust as I want to. I'm going to make basically a little loop here and then just secure it off. And I can even tuck it down in to fill that space in. But see how I've got this little tiny sort of, it's kind of like a little lever on there. And that's going to be what I stick inside underneath my beak. See that? Just like that. And then I can pull my beak out like that. Now I'm going to add a little teeny bit of glue just to make sure this stays in place. But I'm going to do it from the back side. Just a tiny little bit there. Right there in the back. Now be very careful that you don't burn yourself. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this orange pipe cleaner and I'm going to stick it in the back of his head. I'm going to let this dry before I do anything else. Right now he looks like he has like a giant arrow on his head. Okay, so, or a mohawk or something. Now what I need to do is add his little eyes. I'm just letting this dry really good before I form and cut it. Now I'm going to, because these eyes are so tiny, I'm actually going to put the glue onto the bead and let it dry just a tiny bit, and then I'm just going to add the eyes. One eye and two eyes. There we go. Now this is ready to be formed, and I can make this as crazy and wonderful and wild as I want it to be. About there, give it a little snip. There he goes, and there's his little top knot. Look at that, and that's all there is to it, really. Now he's all ready for the party. And there you have it, your very own Cork turkey. Remember, if you want to, you could always write the person's name up here and you could use these as place cards. For more fun ideas for your Thanksgiving Day table, come and check us out at Sophie-World.com.